Okay, cool. So I should be able to get this recorded now. So this session is really all about taking photos that sell. So it's a broad session covering many aspects. We won't dive in too deeply in any particular one, but we can do in other videos, and very happy to take your feedback about which videos you might want us to run next time. So if you've got any questions, shout out or just send a message. And always, we're here to help. As I don't know if you've contacted Sarah before, or any of us before events or after events. We really do put a lot of effort into making sure that events, there's good events on the calendar, that we're available during events or just before events, and certainly after events with promotion and helping people maximize their sales. So that's our mission, is to make sure that that happens. So as we go through this, there's a range of things that we'll talk about taking photos that sell, and really for me, the first key one is understanding the sport. Now, a lot of us go out and shoot sports that we do understand, that we're knowledgeable of already, but you may find yourself at events that you're going to an event that you don't necessarily know a lot about. You're unlikely to take the best photos, the most professional photos first time out, but you can do a whole range of things to make sure that you're taking the best photos that you're capable of taking by doing some research on the sport. So, there's a number of things that you can do. You can search for photos of that sport on Google. You can ask people that are either involved in the sport, or when you get to the event, you can actually ask the event organizers and people around the event, the spectators, what people are looking for in these photos. You can look for other events on GeoSnapShot that have been covered. So say you were going to a show jumping event and you hadn't done that kind of photography before. There's a million examples of show jumping, of course. And there's also our training videos, which we're just revamping at the moment. And you'll see those coming out in the next few weeks. The other idea in researching the sport is to get there early and look at the maps and try and be as prepared as you possibly can. Have a plan for the day, know the types of people that are involved. So, what waves of runners are coming through, what their names are in terms of, the classification. Is it half marathon or full marathon or something like that? If it's show jumping, what heights are they jumping? So just really understanding what you're going to be shooting for the day. Obviously, some of you go to sports that you do know. You'll understand what shots people are after, and you may be able to get access to more sort of restricted areas because you know exactly about the safety of those particular types of sports. You'll talk the language, and you'll definitely know how to name your albums. One of the things for me when I do go to new events specifically, or even sometimes events that I've known very well, is not everything goes perfectly. So you might not get the perfect position. You might have a bit of difficulty setting up your camera to get exactly the right shots. And one thing I always find at that stage is to just walk away from the situation. Just, spend 10 minutes and just sit and think about what's wrong with the camera, or what can I do differently, or could I position myself in a different position to just get the maximum out of the day. It's much better than just keep on shooting, to actually think about how I can maximize these shots for the day. So there's a few simple rules to get good shots, I think, every time at any event. The first one is zooming in and filling the frame. So remember that when people are looking at our photos on GeoSnapShot, the thumbnails are relatively small. Now, yes, you can blow them up into the little lightbox area with the watermarks on it, but relatively speaking, we're used to looking at photos, on our big screens. Thumbnails are small. People want to be the main center of attention of these photos. It's absolutely about capturing somebody's memory, something that's going to mean something to them. So they want to be able to distinguish themselves from the rest of the photo. So as you can see here on the left-hand side, it's impossible to distinguish who's who, or really what this photo is about, or who's in it. And I'm obviously showing very black and white examples here, but on the right hand side, obviously, this guy is captured quite nicely. A bit of a blurry background. There is some distraction in the background, but it doesn't detract from the photo too much. And we'll go through a whole range of photos after I've just gone through these main points. There's photos that sell and photos that don't in a practical sense. The next thing is be around for capturing high emotion. Be aware of when those situations happen. And a lot of those situations don't necessarily happen when the person is doing the sport. It's actually directly after the sport finishes. So you can see here, this is a finish line of an off-road triathlon. And a lot of times, people actually show the biggest amount of emotion when they've come through the finish line and they've taken 4 or 5 steps afterwards. They show, like this guy on the right here, they show this, like all the weight is off them and they can actually enjoy the moment. So yeah, after the goal is scored, after they cross the finish line, and I don't know whether you've ever shot dressage, but as soon as that person finishes dressage, the horse relaxes, the rider relaxes, there's a big beaming smile, and that's a lovely photo to try and capture. So be aware of those moments of high emotion that can be captured. Try and capture everybody at least once. So multiple exposures do sell. Even of runners, not just show jumping and things like that, but of runners and bikers and various other types of activities. Taking multiple shots will enable you to choose which ones are best or discard ones which are out of focus while still capturing at least a photo or 2 of everybody that's doing the event from your position. Again, as photographers, what we should do, and the photo that I'm showing here is a bit of a joke because we were both just playing around with various bits of equipment, but what you should really be doing is organizing yourselves to get maximum coverage at the event. So, if there's 2 photographers or 3 photographers covering a triathlon, we really should be organizing ourselves so that there's maximum coverage for the participants at the event, so somebody could be doing candid shots at the end, for example, while somebody else is doing the finish line. So, any questions at this stage on anything? Is this all sort of, I'm not teaching you to suck eggs or anything like that. Is it, you can still hear me okay? And
yes, I can hear you well.
Yep, great. Ian, you still all right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm okay, mate. It's pretty good, okay.
Perfect. Okay, good. All right, we'll keep moving along. So lighting and background, you would be amazed at how important the lighting and background of photos are. And obviously you can see a really bad example here, but lighting and background are one of those things that it's very easy sometimes to get right because there's trees that aren't a great background, or the light's in the right position but the background doesn't look very good. That's exactly the time that I would be sitting back for 5 or 10 minutes, wandering around the area that I was in and just taking some time to actually get it right. So getting there early really does enable you to find the areas of the course, especially for larger courses like cross country, marathons, triathlons, that kind of thing, to enable you to get into the right position where there's things like no cones, no bunting. I've seen photos uploaded with toilet blocks in the background. And it wasn't that the photographer was, a terrible photographer. It's just that they were so busy taking the photos at the time that they actually missed the fact that there was a very distracting background in it. And of course, those photos are hard for anybody to actually pay money for and purchase. So look at the surroundings. Never accept your first position. You might go back to that position, but never accept the first position. Always look at different angles that you can get. Really, there's lots of opportunity to get clean backgrounds. And You may have to alter your height. It may be, get to a lower level. Sometimes that really helps with cutting out some noise in the background. But always, 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 after you've taken the first few photos on your camera, look at them on your camera, on the screen, and then actually zoom into them as well, and make sure that your focus points are good. Make sure that your exposure is good. And I keep doing that pretty much throughout the day, just because I hate getting home and having, you know, a mistake somewhere, and I've got 200 or 300 photos that are all out of focus because I've just not done something right. I'd much prefer to keep checking my photos on the back of the camera and making sure that I'm really happy with the situation. It may be that the light changes quite dramatically during the day, and there's another position that actually works a bit better. So always keeping your eye out for those kinds of things. Culling and uploading. We're actually doing a video at the moment on downloading, the culling process, editing, and uploading. So again, people have their own preferences for how they do this, but this is my experience, having done it for a few years now. I always try and get it right in the camera. So I always try to get the best shot that I possibly can in the camera. I detest going home afterwards and editing. Even batch editing for me is not something that I would go about doing. Hence why, getting the position right, getting the lighting right, everything else is really, really important for me on the day. When I get home, I've actually got a very fast process for going through and culling many thousands of photos, and getting them into a state ready for upload as soon as possible. So I can come home from an event and cull, probably 2,000 photos in an hour and a half, something like that, and have them ready to upload nearly immediately. As I say, we've got another video on my approach for that. And again, be proud of your photos. Really try to get the best out of them. As you can see here, I've got quite low in this photo. I've got the lighting right. There's a nice blue sky, fortunately, and captured. Really proud, to have captured that horse and rider, quite nicely in that photo. So that was actually on a remote camera, by the way. I wasn't actually attached to that camera, so I was in a safe spot. So that's the end of the sort of theoretical bit, I guess, of the presentation. And something weird's happened on screen here. Can you see all those lines?
Yes, I can see them.
Let me
Yeah.
just stop that.